So I don't think it's, as a woman, I know full well it weren't ingrained in me to hate men, but as you grow up and you see them act a certain way, then you're going to have an opinion of them. I wouldn't go swimming. I wouldn't go swimming in Australia. Even if there was one shark attack, I wouldn't go near it because I know the consequences. But yet, as women, we're expected to still trust men that hurt us.
Well, what? Okay.
Oh wow.
What do you mean?
What do you mean? What do I mean?
Like what you said. What do you see that men do that's so bad?
Well, first of all, I said about the domestic violence, and then I think if you look at like,
well, women do it too.
No,
so,
no, of course,
yeah.
but men ain't dying at the same rates. So,
well, they can't.
Who's to say?
What do you mean? Who's to say?
I think everything that we see is what's given to us as facts.
Right.
We can't take that as gospel.
Do you know any men that have died from domestic violence?
Male suicide is one of the biggest indicators of male suicide is relationship conflict or breakup. So, you know, maybe it's not being logged as domestic violence, but there is definitely abuse going the other way, and that's a significant part of male suicide. And
more women hit men one-sided than men hit women one-sided.
I do struggle with this. Like on the websites that I've seen, like women are arrested more for domestic violence than men, even though they suffer more. And on like when in 2020, when 110 women died that year because of at the hands of male, 50% of those deaths were overkill, which means that they killed them. There was like brutally killing them long before that, long after they were dead.
110 in London.
No, in the UK. In the UK.
That's really not a lot.
One every 3 days. You don't think that's
110 for the whole year?
So say for
the whole year?
Yeah, from the whole year. So from then to now. So say at the
what percentage of deaths is that? That's got to be less than 1%.
Do you honestly think that a woman dying every 3 to 4 days is not a lot?
I don't think it's like a pressing, like if it's not one of the number.
How do you not?
Because it's not one of the number one ways people are dying here. So like if we're gonna talk about if that's the big issue, like then we should maybe put obesity.
Why is it always fat people when that alcohol is a drug and it's so normalized?
We could do alcoholism.
But why is the default always fat?
Why is the default always fat? It could be alcoholism too.
Because the stuff that's more people die. What Pearl's trying to say is more people die each year from self-inflicted things than something that's been inflicted on somebody else. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense, but it doesn't excuse it. Do you see what I mean? So say when
I wouldn't excuse it. I don't believe anyone should.
It's just putting it into context. So
yeah.
If you take a number like 110 out of a country with like 60 million people and try and make the case
that's wild.
Because you're trying to generalize something about men.
But
and so if you're gonna make a generalization about men, I want to see, is this prevalent among men? Is this really common? And when you said 110, I'm like, well, okay, the UK is very populated. That doesn't sound like a lot of people. And when you put it into context,
but if you put it into context,
I don't think it's okay. I don't think it's
right. I'm not saying you do, but then if you put it into context, the same amount of women have died this year, right? So it's one every 3 to 4 days. So say from 2020, 2021, 2022, if you multiply 110. That's 330, yeah? That's close to a year. So out of 3 years, there was 1 year where a woman was dying every day. That's mad. When you put it like that, is that not mad?
I don't think it's okay, but if I had to guess, I would think that things like car crashes and obesity would probably be higher.
But they're self-inflicted, so that's on them. I could walk down the street and be murdered by a man, and what did I do to deserve that?
Why does it have to be a man? You could be murdered.
But I was talking about that statistic. When we're talking about domestic violence, it's men killing women.
My point is, why would I make a generalization about men when it's not a huge percentage of people that are dying?
Oh, okay.
At the hands of men, like from domestic violence.
I think that's probably just a difference in opinion, because I think 1 every 3 to 4 days is 2 a week. I think that's wild.
I mean, you can manipulate statistics to make them sound like it's a lot more prevalent than it is, but. But when you look at how many people, if I Googled right now how many people are in the UK,
it's like 60 million.
Yeah, 60 million people in the UK.
But
110, that's not.
That's cool. But then when you put it down to 1 to every 3 to 4 days, that doesn't. And like I said about 1 like a year, and that would have been just women. But this is what I'm saying. Get off this. But this is what I'm saying. This is why, because there's a consequence for your actions. So as men, if you're going to enable other men and whatnot, then it's a repercussion.
How do men enable other men? We just saw in a clip where when people were when he was attacking a woman in public, people rushed to her defense. How was that enabling?
Well, the thing is, I understand that video. The video is terrible, but that's just one incident. You could film that tomorrow, and there could be a different reaction. Because I personally have seen 3 incidences of domestic violence with a woman being attacked, and I haven't seen any. I was the one that went to see them. It was me. So I know full well that happens. So I'm not shocked by that video at all, because I don't know what people expect.
Do you feel like it's equal? Like people protect the genders equally?
No. I do see what the problem with men, but in terms of how they're treated in society, but a lot of it, I dare to say that the misandry is almost a bit of a pity party. Like if you ask someone who's 50 plus about this, they ain't got a clue what you're talking about. But they've, for the last 50 years, seen women go through this, and this, and they're probably like, well, of course.
I want to go back
what did women really go through?
Can I just ask you that this...
Okay.
What do you mean?
What do we go through?
What do you mean? What have we gone through? I don't know.
It's a question.
It's a question.
You said women have gone through this,
do you think
this.
women are oppressed?
No. Not
okay, so that's just straight off a completely different opinion.
Yeah,
and if you think they are, you would have to explain how they are.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
If explain how women are oppressed.
How do you think they're not?
No, you're answering a question with a question.
Because history.
Okay,
like you think go back
what
to
history?
our I don't know how old you are, but if we look back to our nans,
25.
Yeah. So my nan, if I go back to that far, she didn't have her own bank account till her 70s, till 1970s. So she was 60, and how all of this, like in terms of voting, work, childcare, all of that, I don't understand how you can step back and say, no, women have got it all right.
No, but what you done there was conflate to time, like you were saying 1970s, yeah?
Yeah.
So in the 1970s, that may have happened. But we're
not that far from that.
But we're 50 years removed from that. But we're asking you today, are women oppressed? They may have been oppressed, but are they oppressed today?
I would argue women actually weren't oppressed historically.
Because
I mean, a common thing that I hear women say is like the vote, but the thing is like the only reason we couldn't vote was because we couldn't be drafted. And so like women historically never had to fight in wars. We were generally protected, where men were the ones that were sent to war and had to die in order to build societies.
But who started those wars?
Actually, over the last 500 years, women are more likely to wage wars than men. When women were in positions of power, they're more likely to wage war.